Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So spring is right around the corner. I think it's only 2 weeks away, at least the first official day of spring. I always love to switch up my makeup seasonally. So during the spring, I typically reach for pastels or just like some brighter tones in general. And I'm excited to do that this year. I have been wearing a lot of neutral eyeshadow lately, and I love neutrals as well. But there's just something about the springtime that always makes me want to try like softer, colorful looks and neutrals as well. So anyway, today I thought I would share 10 of my favorite eyeshadow palettes this year as we are heading into spring. I love filming this video every year, and this year I have a ton of drugstore and affordable palettes to share with you guys. I think I just have like 2 or 3 high-end palettes, but even those are still a little bit more affordable for the most part. So I'm excited to chat with you, share some ideas. If you guys are looking to add a new palette to your collection, these would make a great addition, especially because they're super affordable. Or even if you're not looking to buy any new makeup, hopefully this can inspire you to shop your stash, maybe pull some of these palettes out if you own them, and just maybe refresh your makeup for spring if that's something you're looking to do. So let's jump into it and I'll share my favorites. So the first palette I want to talk about is something you guys inspired me to buy. I mentioned this in a video. I was talking about how I was thinking about buying it even though it was an older release. It was still on my wish list, and I got so many comments, like the most comments I've ever gotten about one product in a video, telling me that I need to try this. So I picked it up, and you guys were right. This is the Flower Beauty Desert Lights eyeshadow palette. So this is available at Ulta Beauty. They also have like a darker version called the Jungle Lights palette, which I definitely want to try after trying this one. But I think this is the most gorgeous palette, especially for spring and summer. You get 6 amazing metallic shadows. Like, this is one of the best metallic formulas I've ever tried. I'm wearing the gold shade on my eyes today, along with another palette that I'll talk about in a second. I feel like at this point, matte shadows are pretty good across the board. Like, sometimes you try a formula that's not very good, but in general, they perform pretty well. So a lot of us have good staple mattes in our collection. But if you love shimmers and you're looking for just the most beautiful, intense formula, just to kind of add a pop to your makeup or your collection, this is such a great option. I will swatch these for you. You will be blown away. They look like liquid metal on the eyes. I just think this is such a good palette for spring and summer and really all year round. But I love these metallics because they're so bright and vibrant, and they just look so pretty when the sun hits them. And during the spring and the summer, I'm usually outside a little bit more, and I feel like this will be so perfect. You get a gorgeous duochrome, a really nice smoky brown as well. It's a little bit more expensive for a drugstore palette. I think it's $18, but typically you can get a coupon for Ulta's website, and sometimes it's on sale on Ulta's website as well. So I definitely recommend this. Thank you guys for recommending it to me because it's definitely going to be one of my all-time favorite palettes. So I tried the Milani Gilded Flora palette back in January, and as soon as I tried it, I just felt like it was going to be such a fun option for spring. At this point, I've probably used it like 10 or 12 times, and every time I use it, I love the way that my makeup turns out, but I think the colors in here are so representative of spring makeup for me that I'll just be reaching for it nonstop. I actually hadn't tried one of these Milani Gilded palettes, and then I was on their website and I saw they have quite a few of them, but I think the color story in here is a lot of fun if you want to add just like a few pinks and purples to your collection. This formula is so easy to work with. So if you're someone who likes more of a buildable formula, if you don't want something super intense and pigmented right off the bat, this is a great option because you can slowly layer it up and really build your look up, or do something a little bit softer. The colors in here just flow so well together, and there are a couple of unique shades that I really don't have in other palettes. So I've been really impressed by this one. Just a quick note, if you pick this up at Walmart, I was just kind of comparing prices online. I think it's like right around $13 on the Walmart website or in stores, but if you get it from the Milani website, it's $20. I know not everyone has access to a Walmart, but if you do and you want to try this, definitely pick it up at Walmart just to save a few dollars. But it really is such an ideal palette for the spring. So last year, Essence came out with these 6-pan palettes, and I use them all the time. I think that I have all of them at this point, and they're great because they're $4, but the quality is really nice. And I love that they're so small and compact. It's just a nice way to add like a certain pop to your collection. So there's like a purple one, a green one, a blue one. The first one that I tried last year was Coral Me Maybe, and this is still one of my favorites, again, especially for spring, because you just get some staple neutrals. You also get some corals, you get a deeper brown to kind of smoke things out a little bit, and you can definitely create multiple looks with just this one palette. Not too long ago, they released 2 more. I did pick them up just because I wanted to see what the quality was like. I knew that I loved the other ones, and these are nice. The first one is Nothing Compares to Nude. I think that this one will be a great option for spring if you want like a very light, soft, neutral look. You're not going to get anything too intense with this one. The deepest shade is like that center smoky tone. It is a shimmer, so sometimes I'll use it all over the lid, but in general, I'll kind of use this one to add like a pop of shimmer to the center of my eye after I do a look. But if you do like a very light, soft nude palette, then you might like this one. I tend to reach for this one a little bit more. This one is called My Rose Will Go On. And again, I think it's such a fun option for the spring, especially if you like to wear pinks. I used to love pink eyeshadow so much. I still love it, but it's pretty much all I used to wear. And I feel like I would have loved this palette back in the day. So it's nice to have it in my collection now because you can do something a little bit more rosy or you can do something a little bit softer. But again, these are great accent palettes as well. They're just nice to have in your collection when you feel like you need like an extra blendable shadow or just a really nice pop of shimmer, because the shimmers and mattes in here are really easy to work with. I have a couple of ColourPop palettes to share with you guys as well. Did I say I was sharing 10 palettes? I actually have 12 because I think I counted the Essence palettes as one when I was doing like my initial roundup. So I have 4 ColourPop palettes to share with you guys. The first one is one that a lot of you probably already own. It is the Star Wars The Mandalorian The Child palette. It's this cute little palette they came out with when they did the first Star Wars collaboration. Now they have 3, but I think that this one is so perfect for spring if you want to add a pop of green to your look. I know that pastels are always very trendy for the spring, as some people aren't into them, but I love this palette because it just makes green very wearable, really approachable. If you're someone who tends to be a little bit more intimidated by color, this is such an easy way to incorporate color into your look because you also get that row of neutrals. I think that these greens are so flattering on the eyes. The formula is so smooth. Like, I feel like this is one of their better palettes in terms of formulation. It just performs I was going to say amazingly perfectly, and then I cut myself off because that's not a thing. It just performs perfectly on the eyes. It really is such a fun option, and I feel like this is one that a lot of people already own. So I think it's a great option to break out for the spring season, although I tend to wear this one all year long. This is an older ColourPop palette, but I just feel like it is the most ideal spring summer palette if you love warm peachy tones, you love corals. This is the Baby Got Peach palette. This is definitely one of my all-time favorite ColourPop palettes. I need to film an updated version of that video because it's been a little while, but I'm glad this one is still available because it's such a great option. This just has like 9 warm toned browns, peaches, corals. There is one downside to this palette, and for me, it's the fact that there's such a chunky, intense glitter in it. I think it's a really pretty pressed glitter. It's just not something that I ever reach for, but the palette as a whole is just so much fun for like a quick everyday spring summery look. If you want something super warm toned, you can go like super peachy if you incorporate the brighter tones, or you can go a little bit more neutral. But I think overall it's just such an easy palette to work with. And for me, this is like the ideal like warm, sunshiny day palette because it just adds a lot of warmth to the eyes. I have 2 somewhat newer ColourPop palettes. I think this one's been out for a few months at least. This one is the Feelin Bubbly palette, and it comes with 9 neutrals. So this isn't necessarily like a mind-blowing unique palette, but I do think it is a nice staple if you're looking for easy neutrals to wear on an everyday basis. These shadows perform so well. I'm wearing this on my eyes today, so I pretty much have like all of the matte shadows with the exception of the pink on my eyes, and they just blend out in seconds. After all this time, ColourPop still makes like one of my favorite formulas because it's just easy to work with. And these days, that's what I'm typically looking for. Not something overly pigmented or like super light, but something that kind of falls in the middle that blends out well, that looks good all day. The shimmers in here are pretty intense shimmers. They look really bright. They open up your eyes. So I just think it's a nice everyday palette for spring as well. And you might have a lot of neutral palettes in your collection, but if not, or if you're looking for a new one, this is one that I've reached for a lot since I've gotten it. I feel like I've shared a lot of neutral palettes with you guys, but I do love to wear color during the spring as well. And I feel like I'll be reaching for this one quite a bit during the spring. This is such a beautiful palette. This is the All Amethyst palette. And I think this is one of the more unique, interesting palettes that ColourPop has done in a while. It just has a really beautiful range of purples and pinky purples. And I love the way these colors look on the eyes. So I'll swatch this one for you because in the palette, it is really pretty, but I feel like the swatches are what initially pulled me into this palette. If you like to wear like softer purples during the spring as well, and you want a few options to make it maybe a little bit more dark and dramatic and smoky, this is such a fun option. It's just a fun palette. I feel like there's no other way to describe it. Whenever I use it, I love how my look turns out, and I just think it's a little bit more interesting and unique compared to what I've been reaching for a lot over the last few months. So I just feel like the spring is the perfect time to incorporate color. There is color all around. There are beautiful flowers. The trees start to bloom, and I just think that this is such a fun way to incorporate it into your makeup as well. I do have a few high-end palettes that I want to share with you guys as well. So I have been loving these little Kaja Beauty Bento eyeshadow trios. They are so nice if you want to do eyeshadow, but you just want something like so effortless, because sometimes when you're reaching for a larger palette, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Even if it's a palette you've had in your collection for a while, when you go to do your makeup, like you sit there and you're like, which shadow should I use? Which kind of look should I do? These trios are so effortless because really there's not a ton of variety that you can get out of them, but the quality is so good. So I feel like when I'm in a hurry, this is perfect because I don't even have to think about doing my eyeshadow, and the shadows blend out in seconds. They have a couple of different options on Sephora's website that I think would make really fun, trios to try, but the chocolate Dahlia one is so perfect if you like a little bit more of like a cool toned rosy neutral trio. So the first shade in here is a really intense, pretty shimmer. It looks so nice all over the lid or as an inner corner highlight. The second shade is what I typically use as a transition or even in the crease if I want a lighter, softer color. It's just like a light kind of neutral brown. And then the last shade is a darker, cool toned smoky brown. So this is great in the outer corner or as liner. So this is a little bit more expensive for 3 shadows. It's $21, so they end up being like $7 each. But I think just the ease of using this makes it worth the price. And, as life kind of returns back to normal, if you're going to be doing any traveling at any point, this will be so nice to throw in your makeup bag because it is so small and compact. So I feel like the Natasha Denona Retro palette was such a fall staple for me. And then winter came and I used it pretty much all winter as well. And now spring is right around the corner and I feel like it's going to be such a good option for spring too. So it really is just one of those palettes that is so good all year round. And if you're someone who tends to stick with cooler tones during the spring, I think you'll really like this palette because it does have mainly cool tones in it, but it's such a fun, like rosy pink palette. Every single time I use it, my makeup turns out perfectly. Like I said, I'll usually reach for like pastel shades or warm coral shades or warm neutrals, but there's like another part of me that tends to love like those cooler toned pink shades as well. And when I want to look like that, I'll definitely be reaching for this one. This one is just like a good year-round staple palette. I feel like it just kind of fits whatever season we're in if you like to switch up your makeup seasonally. But if you're someone who tends to stick with like cooler tones even during the spring, I think you'll like this one. The last palette is one that I know a lot of you guys have purchased over the last few months because it has been on sale on Sephora's website for months at this point, and it's something that I love. It's the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. So I just checked yesterday and it is no longer available on Sephora's website, but you can still get it on the Huda Beauty website for $33. Which is such a great price point because this palette was originally $67. I don't know how long it's going to be available on the Huda Beauty website because it's obviously in the process of being discontinued, which is so sad because it is such a gorgeous option. But if you can get your hands on it, I don't think you'll regret it. This is such an ideal palette for spring because it has everything that you could want. Whether you do something more like pastel, like the purples, or there's like pretty peaches in here, or you want something really bold and colorful, there is an amazing teal, a really vibrant purple, or you just want like a neutral look, you can definitely get that out of this one. I kind of feel like the new Huda Beauty palette, the Rose Quartz palette, would be such a great option for spring as well. That is on my wish list for the Sephora VIB sale, which is coming up soon. I might end up grabbing that one because so many of you guys have raved about that. But this one's on sale right now, and if you already own it, it might just be a fun palette to break out for the spring season. Whenever I use this, I just have fun. Like, it just puts me in a good mood because I feel like my makeup always turns out a little bit differently every single time I use it, but it always looks really fun and just interesting and a little bit different than when I'm using some of my other staple palettes. So I love this. This will always be one of my top palettes for sure, and I think I might grab the Rose Quartz palette in April. That might like break my eyeshadow palette no buy because I am in the middle of an eyeshadow palette no buy, but I feel like it's been good. It's kind of, forced me to just use what I already own. I definitely love eyeshadow palettes. I love to try them. I love to review them, but I do feel like it's been nice to just kind of use some of these older favorites rather than constantly purchasing new ones. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I would love to hear which palettes you tend to reach for during the spring, which ones inspire you, which ones you'll be shopping your stash for, so let me know. But thanks again for watching today's video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys very soon with a new one. Bye.